Hello, welcome to another video, and I beat Shadow of the Erdtree, and it was something. It's also pretty early in the morning, my voice seems a little fucked up. I'm going to be posting my whole playthrough. That ending, I got a little heated, but I had to shower because I was looking like a goddamn gremlin. I beat the whole thing in like 2 days, basically, one full weekend. I grinded. It was wonderful. Realistically, everything, it's wonderful. I made a video about it being too hard before I really tried it, just like general speaking. You know, it's a DLC, what do you expect? I agree with like 99% of what I had to say. I am still, feeling the high of just finishing it, because I did just finish it and everything, so I don't really care if I'm biased. But just some overall points on the DLC area, everything looked wonderful. It looks like a normal Elden Ring or Elden Ring base game to me. You could just go somewhere and see something absolutely beautiful. One small thing I would say about visuals is like, it is kind of shitty that like 90% of it is just like dark brown, shitty shit color. That's like a tiny nitpick, realistically, but overall, I would say I enjoyed the base game still more. I think that's better than Shadow of the Erdtree, but that's not a bad thing on Shadow of the Erdtree. It's a DLC. I would expect the base game that was Game of the Year, all this shit, to, be better. I think Shadow of the Erdtree is going to, like, win awards and everything. Like, it is still that fucking good. Absolutely. It felt like there is some shortcomings with it more than the base game. Nothing like too major, I would say. To me, at least, I don't know if I was like playing it a certain way. I took like 20 hours ish to beat it. Most of that, a good chunk of that, I should say, was at the end. The areas where the bosses were, I don't know why, just kind of seemed a little less, I don't want to say threatening, but like, I don't know. It just felt like it was very easy to just zoop to the boss in all the areas of the DLC. The one place I would say that isn't true is the Shadow Keep. It's humongous. It's a giant dungeon. It's really fucking cool. There's 3 different remembrance bosses there. Really cool. That was awesome. I love that area. But so many of the other areas with remembrance bosses and stuff, just, it seemed more tedious in ways to get to them than actually like having strong things in the way to get to them. Like, it felt like that was kind of like off compared to the main game. It's not a big thing. Obviously, all the boss fights, by the way, are amazing, except for one. But I just felt like the areas to get there and everything didn't necessarily feel empty. I'm not sure. Like, it felt different. It felt weird in a way. And like, I don't know if that's because like it felt like there was less open world bosses in Shadow of the Erdtree. Obviously, I assume there is, because Elden Ring was such a big game. They had a lot of open world bosses just roaming that you just run up to. And Shadow of the Erdtree, it just seemed like that was a lot lesser of a thing. Now, it's definitely a smaller area, everything like that. Can't like fully shit on like about that comparison. But it's something I noticed going from place to place, that it pretty much was like you go to the place, you could kill some mobs or just kind of run around them, and then, a couple minutes later, like a few doors, then you see the fog wall kind of thing. But that's the one like nitpicky, smaller thing that I really noticed like throughout playing the game, that was like, this definitely feels different than the base game, and I preferred the base game. But the story with Mikola and Mesmer, all this shit, it's pretty good. I will say the only thing that I kind of was like oof about with the story is at the very end, it just feels like it's just done with not like nothing in a way. You get like a little memory thing, but like it's not like your character does anything or shows anything in a way. So that is a little, it felt like just a solid end out of nowhere. And Mesmer, I got to him really quickly, I felt. I didn't feel like I heard anyone talk about Mesmer at all. It was only whenever I talked to NPCs and shit, they talk about Mikola. And like, Mesmer's the cover boy of the DLC and stuff. So like, I would have expected him to be a little later, I would have thought, in the game. And at least to have like a lot more people talking about him. Obviously, throughout the world and everything, Mesmer's, doing, has shit going on. You see little items that reference him, all this kind of stuff. So like, it's not like he's completely devoid of the world. He's clearly in the world, but I don't know. It just felt like he was being talked about less, like very less of versus Mikola. And then I understand Mikola ends up being technically the final boss, but it felt weird going into the DLC. And now let's talk about difficulty. The video I made a month plus ago, I was on like under the thing of it's fine. Like, it's a DLC, you expect it to be harder. Why would they make that game easier than the base game if it's a DLC? You're going to be super leveled, you're going to be super OP, know your Ash of Wars, all this shit, your build's going to be great, all this stuff, right? Why would they make it easy? Because then you would literally just walk right through it. And I think they did a perfect job. I think the Erdtree fragments is a good little twist thing on how to get stronger in its own way without kind of fully breaking the base game and this game kind of thing. I will say the amount of runes you get in the DLC feels like it breaks the base game, because you're like, the first bosses you beat, you're getting like 300,000 runes almost, and it's like even smaller bosses you're getting like 220, which is it felt crazy to me. I don't know. It felt like it broke the game because I was already super high leveled. Then I had like 300,000 runes, and it's like, I don't have really anything I want to buy with this. So then, yeah, it was weird. That's my thought and opinion on it. Overall, I think the DLC difficulty is really good. It's definitely really hard when you first get into it. You slowly get the fragments and just better and stuff like that, and it's a climb up throughout the whole game. A solid progression. I fought, I think, 2 of the Remembrance bosses. I feel like I fought them later than I should have, because when, like, throughout the DLC, you notice how much damage you're kind of doing, like, chunks out of the bar, and it seemed the same basically every time, like, you know, a little bit better throughout it. And then these 2 Remembrance bosses, I hit them, and boy, did they lose a fucking chunk. And I know one of them always look like he has a small health pool. That's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Goop Horseman. That's why just to save some spoilers. Goop Horseman and Fingers. I'll say that. It seemed like those 2, unless they are just not tanky at all, I thought I was hammering them. I'd say 10 of like the big bosses, pretty goddamn awesome. I did hate the Sunflower. I hated the Sunflower. I thought its moves and like it just was dumb to me. That was one that didn't really drive with me. It was beating the shit out of me too. I don't know. Like, it wasn't hard, which was the most frustrating part of that fight, but that one pissed me off. Maybe I'll do a tier list of the bosses. I loved Bale. I think everyone loves Bale. I don't want to toot my own horn. I beat him on my first legit attempt. My first actual attempt, I'm trying to summon the NPC because he's goddamn amazing. Couldn't find him, get killed. Second time, summon him, boom, we killed him. Which kind of sucked after, because I was like, dude, this fight looked so cool. I want to watch this again. He's probably my favorite boss of the DLC. Mesmer's also was sick. But to talk about the elephant in the room, Consort Radon. He is the 1% that I disagree with the thing being too difficult. It's fucking dumb. First phase is great. You feel, you get you get his moveset, you're in a mojo. You still get caught like every now and then, but it's relatively easy, which, it feels like a first, it's really a first like third of his boss fight is like, feels like the beginning of a boss fight. You learn it very easily. Well, you learn it easier, and then you start to get to a point where you feel like you can beat him pretty good. I'm not that great at the game. It's my first Souls game. I was doing Mimic Tier. I couldn't fucking care less. I'm sorry. That second phase is literally no reason for it to be as fucking so much bullshit at once. I don't get it. I think like it must have been in the mindset of like, we're done Elden Ring after this. We have to go out with a fucking crazy bang. And they're like, you know what? Fine. Let's make this terrible. And I know, like, oh, get good, all this shit, right? Yeah. I understand that. I started to learn how to dodge him throughout the fight, which felt good. But then you'd throw other... Oh, dude, it was so annoying. By far the worst part of Consort Radon, the second half, is when you die, I would say 90% of the time I died, I was on him for at least 3.5 hours. It fucking sucked. Because I knew I was going to continue to get shit kicked. I dipped my toe into summoning other people. That made it worse because he hits harder. His health pool fucking doubles almost, it feels like. Yeah, that didn't help at all. It made me go into the second phase even longer. So then I skipped that idea and just kept throwing my fucking head at the wall in my goddamn big strength greatsword build, which is slow as hell, which also sucked. I eventually killed him, and it was a cheap fucking win. I don't care. I don't care. But 90% of the deaths I would have, the worst fucking part is I would feel like I couldn't even see like what it was that killed me, because he swings lights, and he swings non-stop, and then there's lights in every little in between of him swinging. So punishing him is so small. Like, you have very barely any time to actually punish him. Getting like full dodges off feels fucking impossible. Like, I don't know. Again, I'm not that great at this game. Never will be that great at FromSoft games. Super fun though. I absolutely love it. It's so fun. It's becoming some of my favorite games. Elden Ring's become one of my favorite games ever. It just felt like it just out of nowhere goes, fuck you, boom, in like the highest difficulty they could have thought with just the second phase. I feel like that fight could have been perfect if the second phase obviously was like, had a good jump in how hard it was, but just had less clutter on the screen. Like, that's by far the worst part. Didn't feel like I knew what hit me to then learn what to do, and it was so much on screen, and he's doing so much all the fucking time. It literally ruined so much of the experience for me. I was sitting there so mad. All I could think, I said so much terrible shit. Sitting here like, I can't wait to uninstall Elden Ring. I can't wait to never play this game. It ruined the whole DLC. All this shit. None of it's true. But I will say it definitely put a sour taste in my mouth when I was done. And I am crying like a baby. I know I am. I don't really care. I'm still like coming off of that feeling, trying to beat him for like 4 fucking hours, and seeing those beams of light. It's the stupidest thing. I don't understand. Like, ugh. But yeah, that's the elephant in the room. I loved everything in the DLC except for Radon. Radon was such a pain in the ass. It sucked. It did not have any forgiveness, which you wouldn't want the last boss to like really if you fuck up a bunch, you shouldn't still win, obviously. But it felt like you got no fucking... You couldn't fuck up ever. It felt like in the second phase, or else his one combo, as soon as he stuns you, you're dead. But I did finish Shadow of the Erdtree. I will probably be playing a New Game Plus playthrough. I don't know if I'll do Shadow of the Erdtree right away, because I want to do the achievement still, so we'll see. But I beat it. Expect a video on Wednesday of like the first bit. I don't know how much I'm gonna edit and shit, so we'll see. But it's a lot of fun. 100% go and get it. Do not listen to me cry about Radon. The world, everything. It is really good. If it's just more Elden Ring, and I saw this somewhere, it does feel like Elden Ring 1.5, half of a sequel. Like, if they wanted to flesh out a little bit more, it could have just been a sequel. But that is all I have today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, consider subscribing, helps the channel a bunch. Comment your thoughts on the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, your thoughts on Radon, who's a piece of shit, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.